Hello, everyone, and welcome to What's the Tea with Gen X, Y, and Z. We are three generations, three perspectives, one cup of truth. So get ready for a refreshing take on hot button topics today. We're going to be brewing up a steaming hot take on today's most pressing issues, where we will dish on everything from social justice to pop culture. With humor, honesty, and maybe even a little healthy debate, we're going to sip the tea, spill the honest truth, and find common ground across the generational gap. This show is informative, it's insightful, and it's guaranteed to stir the pot.
Or the cup.
Or the cup. Hello, you guys. I am Dr. Melissa, and I'm representing the X Factor.
And what's up, y'all? I'm Amber, holding it down for us millennials.
And how's it going? I'm Zion, holding it down for Gen Z.
All right, y'all. Well, listen, before we dive into today's topic, which I'm so excited about, let's take care of a little bit of business. It would appear that we were very busy people since the last time we had an episode.
Absolutely.
Some of us went to get our nails done. Others might have gone shopping.
Hair.
Some people decided to make a whole big life decision, right? Like getting engaged.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, I just got engaged with my 4-year long-term girlfriend. And this was originally my promise ring, but henceforth my engagement ring until, around that time. So
let me tell y'all, we had a whole discussion about the ring, right? It goes back to generations and how we follow norms or not, right? So what I had said to him, I said, wow, typically men don't wear engagement rings.
Right.
Like his fiance has a beautiful engagement ring. Mm-hmm. I was hating a little bit because, back in the day when I got my first one, like the diamond was so small, it was like a dot. And there was a lot of like silver.
Y'all got them rocks, but them real rocks.
Yeah, it won't. Back then it wasn't a rock. What I got was not a rock, but I digress. But so when I saw his ring, I said, okay. He was like, yeah, it's my engagement ring. And I said, men don't wear engagement rings. Only the women wear the engagement rings. And him, in true Z form, let me know that those are our rules.
Yeah, I was not aware of those pre-existing social norms. However, this is now an engagement ring. So, I'm sure y'all seen it before. No longer a promise ring. Now this is a commitment. So,
hey, I second that. That is a social norm that us millennials can take to. Amen. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. So listen, you guys. And that's why I love the show. I love this show because it's so insightful when we can delve into even things that seem small. It's like even with that conversation, I was trying to educate him on the proper etiquette for being engaged. And you don't wear your ring, and that's the wrong finger, and by the way, that's the wrong hand, and all of the things. And yeah, he let me know that I can wear my ring on any finger I want, and that's what we do. And so it's refreshing. But you guys, we've talked about love and people got engaged and wonderful. Today, though, you guys, we're going to talk about something that everybody does.
Yes.
And it's the whole basis of the show. And that is communication.
Yep.
Right? Talking. Or is it just talking? Here's what I want to start off by saying. Communication is crucial in all aspects of life. Absolutely. So for some people, and I'm hoping by the end of the show, we'll be able to educate and give you a little bit more, a different perspective on it. Yep. Because for some people, communication is just talking.
Right.
And I'm just going to throw this out there. I want you to think about individuals who are not verbal.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? Throughout my career, I've worked with individuals that have been special needs, brilliant human beings that do not talk, but communicate all day long and communicate loudly. I promise you when they need to.
Right.
So I think we relegate communication just to talking. And so during this episode, we're going to talk about a little bit about what communication is. we're going to talk about the differences in our styles across the generations. And then we're going to end the episode. That's the part you really want to be here for. We're going to talk about the methods of communication.
Yes.
That's going to be real interesting.
That's going to be my favorite segment, y'all.
So let's define communication.
Yes. So yes, thank you. For the sake of this episode, we're going to go ahead and just to provide you our perspective on what we think communication is, just so you can walk with us and we can promote understanding. Exactly. Communication, how we would define it, is just an exchange of information between individuals, not necessarily in person, whether it involves behavior, symbols, or signs, or words.
Mm-hmm. So what I want to highlight is something that Amber was talking about, is really about the differences between the communication. I'm not going to say methods. I'm going to say modality, because it's about whether it's verbal or nonverbal.
Yes.
Yeah. So like for me, for instance, I tend to lean more on my nonverbal side, because I'm just an expressive talker. I might not be able to convey what I'm trying to say, but you're going to know it by, my facial expressions, how I'm moving my hands, body language, I wouldn't even necessarily say the tone of my voice, because I try to keep it mellow tone, but sometimes, it might go a little high pitch. but it's in the way of how I am speaking, and, my nonverbals and my verbals to match it. So definitely there are two different kinds, not just verbally. You got nonverbals as well.
Yes.
So if we were going to provide from the Z perspective, let me give you a definition, because I got a little education too. I went to school. So I'm going to,
Not just
you didn't have Google though.
Amen. Well, I promise you I wouldn't be paying as much every month for loans if I did. I would have much rather go to Google University.
Or artificial intelligence.
Amen. But no, I digress. So verbal communication is really about words, the use of words, whether it's spoken or written.
Exactly.
Okay, so even a letter would be considered a form of verbal communication.
Exactly.
By contrast, nonverbal is really things like Amber just mentioned: body language, facial expression, tone of voice, sometimes even the way we dress. Okay, so I'm going to give you an example, because I'm going to tell you, for me, nonverbal is at least as important, if not more important, than what you say.
Absolutely.
You got to remember, I'm trained in therapy. And so for me, a lot of what we do is not so much what a person articulates as far as words.
Right.
We're looking at, if I ask a question and they shift a certain way, or if they look away, I'm looking at nonverbals. Right. So for instance, I'm looking at this camera now. I don't have to say a word if I did this. If you were talking to me and I went, I don't need to say what.
Right.
My face said it. If you said something, I went, like, you really can't overemphasize the importance of nonverbal. Right. Yeah. And a lot of times we're able to determine sometimes the truthfulness. I'm not saying it's right, but we look at what we call the incongruence between what a person say. I'm really happy. I am really very happy.
Right.
Right? There's a lie somewhere. Right. I mean, I'm just saying.
Where is it?
Right.
It's there.
Right. And just to add on to that, it's very important that we don't undermine nonverbal communication. In fact, some studies say that nonverbal communication, it makes up 93% of overall communication. In fact, other studies suggest that the individual receiver, they typically are more willing to trust someone who relies more on nonverbal communication to convey their feelings or emotions or however they intend on communicating. Yeah. So it definitely promotes authenticity.
Yeah. That old saying when they say it's not about what you say, it's what you do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So if you're telling me something and now your actions is showing differently, I don't even care what you just said, because your actions is showing me something different.
Right. And I love the example you used even in therapy, and that you typically just observe people's, body mannerisms and tendencies to kind of decipher what exactly they're feeling. The example I was going to use detectives. Detectives never rely on people's words.
They sure don't.
They always, looking for just normal tendencies to just detect when someone's lying. There's standard tendencies, someone's fidgeting or, like you're saying, looking off or stuttering, whatever. So nonverbal communication is very important.
I would tell you it's and so when we're talking about that, this is where it gets tricky.
Right.
We're talking about communication styles. And here's the thing. The whole thing about communication, and I cannot think of the quote and who said it, but there was a quote that said the biggest misconception about communication is that it has occurred. What that means is sometimes I think I'm communicating. It didn't happen because it requires the sender and the receiver. It's not just the fact that you said something. Was I clear about what you were saying?
Right.
Did I get the message that you intended? Right?
Exactly.
So when we talk about generational, here's where we run into miscommunication, sometimes conflict.
Yes.
I'm going to say generation, but you guys are also going to say cultural.
Right.
Reason why, being trained in therapy, we look for eye contact.
Right.
But there are some cultures that it is disrespectful to look you directly in the eye.
Exactly.
So that person might be perceived as being untruthful because they won't look you in the eye or they shift their eye gaze away.
Right.
This is where we have to be careful. So for us, I'm going to say this. They're going to not agree with me. I think communication has taken a hit based on the communication styles because I think we have gone more away from being able to know what a person is really saying. We are now talking and having communication where there's absolutely no real interaction. There's no verbal, like it's not. Verbal in the context of you reading words, but I miss out on your facial expression. I miss out on your tone of voice. I miss out on whether or not you seem comfortable or uncomfortable with what was said. One of the things I used to do with my clients when I talked about communication, I would write down the words and it would say, meet me outside, right? And I would hold up the paper and I would say, what is the intent of this person? And here's the thing. People would say, oh, meet me outside. Or somebody would say, oh, somebody is ready to fight. Here's what you missed. When you just got the words, you didn't get the inflection. Because if I said, meet me outside.
Right.
Okay. If I said, meet me outside.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So
different ways you can perceive.
Tone is very important. Definitely important when considering how things get interpreted. So
yes.
Wholeheartedly.
So what do y'all say? So I'm not trying to hold you guys responsible for the whole society, but since you are sitting here at the table, would you all be willing to agree that communication has become more challenging based on the nuances of how you guys now force us all to communicate? And I did say force.
I'm gonna definitely say it has changed, and it has communication, like you said, is not more direct like it used to be. So I'm gonna keep using myself because I am one of those individuals that is still working on their communication skills because I know how I can be as a person. So I stray away from conflict. So I would prefer to have certain conversations not in person.
Right.
So that may come across as I'm trying to not talk about the topic, or I'm trying to stray away from the topic, or I'm trying to change the subject. It's like, well, you're not taking it as serious as I am. But the whole time it's like, it's not that I'm not taking it serious. It's just that I avoid conflict. So I prefer not to talk to you in person. If we can help it, any other form of communication, I would prefer that more better.
Right.
So, that's just my own personal, perception. Guess I am still a work in progress. I'm working on it, but,
Well,
you gotta know your flaws.
As a Gen Zer, I would have to strongly disagree. And I do mean strongly disagree. And it doesn't come from a biased standpoint, y'all. Please just rock with me for a little bit, as I would like to say. So being in this digital age, yes, it definitely has its faults, like where there's not more face-to-face communication. Yeah. And I fully believe that face-to-face communication is the most fruitful or beneficial way to establish connections, because you can see all the nuances when it comes to nonverbal communication with your body mannerisms, your facial expressions, as well as verbal. You get tone, you can receive tone, and that gives you a lot of context to appropriately interpret what someone is saying. Right. However, in a digital age, I feel like that we provide a plethora of resources not everyone can communicate in person. You have people with generalized anxiety, and they're unable to establish or form connections in person. I've met a lot of people, they have long-term friends with people online they've never met in person. So I think it's entirely dependent on the individual. And then another thing, we'll get to in regards to the methods of communication, but social media, for example, has provided a lot of opportunities to individuals through, because you can talk to people in certain states, different platforms, and can provide you with different resources to elevate your own career.
Right.
So
That's true.
A lot of people found their families, using social media platforms.
Exactly,
so you're absolutely right with that. Yeah.
Exactly. And it's very convenient at the same time. So I would have to strongly disagree.
That's so true. And you make great points.
Thank you.
It is, of course, more efficient and more effective, and we live in a global world. And so I get that. I guess I'm just, a lot of us Xers went kicking and screaming. I'm just going to be honest with you. We felt like we were kidnapped, tied up, thrown in the trunk of the car, and forced into this digital, virtual way of communicating.
That sounds brutal.
It felt brutal. But here's what I would say. But now you cannot live on planet Earth without embracing the new ways of communicating. If you're waiting to talk to somebody in person, I'm a businesswoman. If I'm waiting to have a face-to-face meeting with somebody to sign a contract, we shutting down. So I promise you, I'm hating on it, but let me tell you, I embrace all of those other methods of communication, especially when it has to do with business. So yeah, great conversation. We're going to, y'all, take a break. Y'all come right on back. One of the things that Amber said that, right, when she was talking about having those crucial conversations and tough conversations, it just made me think about the whole concept of thumb thugging. I don't know if y'all heard of that. But people get real courageous when they
behind their phone. They do.
Behind their phone or on social media. People say stuff that they would never ever say in person. But that's the whole thing. Okay, that's me. But you guys, come back. We're going to take a few moments. I'm talking about a quick lickety-split New York minute, and we'll be back, and you don't want to miss it. See you soon.
Never heard that one before.
Catch the wave of success with Standing on Business with Dr. Melissa. Unlock your purpose, align it with your entrepreneurial spirit, and witness your business thrive. This isn't just about authenticity, it's about building a foundation so solid, your business becomes synonymous with profitability. Tune in as we delve into marketing strategies that work and create an empire that stands on business. Because when purpose meets strategy, success is inevitable. Standing on Business with Dr. Melissa, where authenticity meets profitability.
Okay, so welcome back to What's the Tea with Gen X, Y, and Z. Before the break, we sort of covered the basics of communication. Now let's dive into how each of our generations approaches communication. And I'm going to start. We start with the best. Let's talk about Xers and how our preferred methods of communication. First of all, let me just tell you, and I alluded to that before, phone calls. And that's probably, y'all, when y'all think about it, and I'm not going to get too deep into the whole history of it, but for me, and I'll talk about me and my part of the country and the world. Our generation, we were like the first generation to really have in-house phones. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like before there were like party lines and all of that. So when I tell you it was exciting, I remember when we got our first phone hooked up. Oh, y'all, I stayed out of school that day.
Whoa.
I missed school. They came and they said it was Bell Atlantic and they were connecting our phones. I missed school and they put the kitchen phone in and it was on the wall and had the long coil and OMG, to use y'all stuff. It was the bomb. So phone calls was really for us, it was the preferred communication method because we were able to connect with people. And then, just to give you a little bit more history, take you down memory lane, then we got call waiting. Where before, if somebody called, if somebody was on the phone, you would get doop, 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 the busy signal. Yeah. Call waiting, you could click over. Oh, no. And then we got three-way. Oh, Lord.
Y'all was having the time of y'all.
Oh, we were, in our minds, this was cutting edge. And I would say with the generations, like my grandparents, they were like amazed. It was like, oh my goodness, you're talking to two different people on the phone. So we value phone calls. The good thing about phone calls is that you do get to hear tone. It's verbal. You hear those words. You can hear inflection, but we do not get to see the nonverbals.
Yes.
We do not get those visual cues.
Yes.
So there is something lost on that, if I'm being honest.
Right.
Another way that we communicated, I know this is cutting edge. This right here, y'all, it's going to break the internet when y'all hear about this. Face-to-face interaction. Like talking to people in person. Yeah, that we place a lot of emphasis on that, and I'm going to tell you, for all the reasons I previously stated, is that you get, and Zion said it as well, which was wonderful, you get all of the context. You really, really do. To Amber's point, though, you also may find that you're less likely to be candid face to face. If you're uncomfortable, if it's a crucial conversation, you may walk away and not say something that you would have said because you're in person, and it can be intimidating. And then too, I was one of those kids when I was younger, you're talking face to face with your mom and everything. There's certain things you didn't say because you were in arm. Yeah. She could reach out and touch you. So I was a lot braver when I was like all the way down the hall, and I was like, yeah, what? Yeah. So that's the downside to that. This last one that I'm going to bring up, I'm so proud of us Xers, because I sit here at this table and I grin and bear every week them talking about, we pioneered, we brought this in, we adopted this. And I'm sitting here like, well, what did we adopt? Xers, we are the early adopters of emails.
Ooh.
Yeah. I would love to see a Zer or a Wire go to work and function without the use of what we adopted, which is emails. Yeah. We adopted that. Let me tell you this, what I love about emails. And I'm going to tell you personally, because you was bringing up the personal stuff. I love emails more than phone calls because emails provide a written record. And I'm a CYA girl. And if you don't know what cover then you don't have to know. But I'm a CYA girl. What I love about emails is that you're able to have that communication, but you're able to have a record verification. Because y'all, sometimes people get amnesia, like, I don't remember saying that. Well, hold on. I'm going to forward you the email that references that, and it was on this date at this particular time. Let me know once you received it. Right. So that's us. That's our communication style.
And this is very beneficial for a work environment as well. So
absolutely.
It's not very personal though. So I think that's a flaw you might have forgot to mention. But
yeah. Okay. No flaws.
Now she said the best generation, and if she doesn't remember, a few episodes ago, they piggyback a lot off of the things that we pioneered, and they're trying to, make it make sense. But I digress. Now, our preferred methods of communications would be text messaging. And like I said earlier in the episode, I'm one of those individuals that prefer a text message because if it's a conversation that I don't want to have in person, I'm just going to shoot you over that text message and, we can converse via text message. And it's quick and easy. You know what I'm saying? True. So we also use social media platforms. A lot of people on like TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, even when it comes down to making long statuses on Facebook and stuff like that, a lot of people have full-blown conversations under people's statuses. And I know some people, i.e. me, in some instances really don't like when people have full-blown conversations and I'm not included. But that's what, they're there for. And then you got instant messaging apps. Now, prior to social media expanding to the depths that they've expanded thus far, and they've started integrating a lot of things, instant messenger apps really was not included in the social media platforms.
True.
You got instant messaging now where you got like Teams, you got to use it in the workforce because you need an instant response.
Yes.
And in certain settings, you need an instant message because if somebody call me and I'm in the workforce and I need an instant answer, I'm going to go on the Teams that person so that Duke can come and then I'm expecting you to respond back. I don't want to see that little that you read my stuff and you ain't respond back.
Right.
So instant messaging is really is another, form of communication where it is requiring you to respond back in a timely manner.
Right.
That's good.
Well, encouraging. Some people still don't respond. But
Yes,
Right.
and they do. And
Yeah.
in some text messages, we are, requiring you to text back in a
Yes.
timely manner, or
Yeah.
you will be, in some cases, in the doghouse, or you might get
Yeah.
unfriended, or you might not get talked to
I
no
stay in
more.
the doghouse.
So please make sure you text back in a timely manner. And a timely manner does mean within maybe 30 minutes, not hours.
Or days.
Or
Ooh.
days.
Yeah. And so even to your point, Slack. That's
And
one
Slack,
that a lot of
yes.
we use in businesses.
Yes,
Okay,
and
all right.
Slack, yep.
What about you, Zion?
Well, I would say Generation Z. Now, just the disclaimer, just to start us off. I know you say you're the pioneers. I never said you weren't the pioneer. I just think we evolutionized everything to make things better. That's the point I was trying to make. But now, in regards to our three primary methods of communication, so I would say the first one is social media apps, but more specifically visual social media apps. Now, y'all saw she took my TikTok app now, like it was in her time.
She did.
It was definitely not. So
Well, my bad. I was helping you out.
yeah. So you see how she mentioned just phone conversations, TikTok, Instagram Reels, things like that. People are able to communicate online with, i.e. like the Messages app, but then also, you get sources of entertainment as well, where you have these videos where they introduce these concepts and these philosophies of just foolishness, going around.
It's intriguing.
Yeah. And it also, so one term that I wanted to just introduce was the parasocial relationships. Now, it's a term that's been here for a while. However, it's a lot more prevalent now, just because everything going on. So we're in a digital age. So you'll have content creators and, it's still an exchange of information, just defaulting back to our original definition, because you have these content creators where they express or they share information with whatever the content is. And then you have, the individuals on the receiving end that's providing feedback. So for those who don't know what parasocial relationships are, it's typically just a one-sided relationship where one person is pouring out either emotionally, verbally, whatever, and then the other person is not aware of the individual's existence. So I just wanted to go ahead and introduce that as being it's not highly regarded as a form of communication, but it's in recent years it's been considered as a form of communication. So I wanted to mention that. The second one I want to mention is voice messages. So just, kind of the advanced version of text messages, you're able to kind of now detect and hear people's tone and their voice to kind of just to get more information, more context, so you can kind of, have a better interpretation of what exactly is being said and how it's being said, the true intention or meaning behind that. So I did want to mention that. And then finally, emojis. Now we all know about emojis. Emojis, Gen Z typically use to just communicate non-verbally. We communicate non-verbally. We don't have to just express it through words. But you'll always know what emotion that person is feeling through emojis. Usually that
right
is.
one,
If you know what they mean.
If you know what they
Using the
mean,
right
and
one.
assuming if the person is using it correctly. Let's just say that, because I've seen cases where some people just don't. So, and it's very beneficial because, again, it transcends language barriers, because even people from different that have different languages, different areas, they're able to usually decipher what exactly the person is saying by using emojis.
And we're not saying overdo the emojis. Use them in the correct way.
And I don't like how
moderation,
I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't like how you're looking at me. I'm looking out of my peripheral, but I feel some sort of way that you're saying that, and then you looking at me. But anyway, yeah. So communication, yeah. I'm glad I'm in person because I saw her. If we were on the phone, I wouldn't have saw her look at me.
Right.
If we were texting, so yeah. So that's why I like in person. But listen, you guys, we have come to the end of this episode. I hope that we have certainly made the case for the importance of communication and how our styles differ. What we have to be intentional about so that we know that we are finding that common ground is that we don't assume that communication is taking place.
Exactly.
You have to check in. It doesn't matter. People say, well, that's what I meant. What you meant doesn't matter. Is that what was received or heard? And so it is the job of the sender to ensure that the message that was sent was received as intended, right?
Yes.
So I would say that. So you guys, we want to thank you so much for tuning in to this particular episode where we really explored the nuances of communication, the styles, and the methods. So until next time, I want you to keep the conversation brewing. We've got to ask questions, talk, listen to understand, and acknowledge the unique challenges that each generation faces. And y'all, we got to keep looking for common ground because trust me, it's there. So until next week, let's keep sipping and let's keep talking. Tune in next week for another thought-provoking and entertaining conversation that bridges the generational gap, one cup at a time. Take care.